Today is the 79th anniversary of the D-Day landings, and because I'm discovering about Poland, I want to know, did Poland have any connection with D-Day, and did they help the Allied Western forces? If you do enjoy the video and you've got anything extra to add, please do leave some comments, like and subscribe.
95-year-old Marian Słowinski often thinks back to his days on the Western Front. He was 24 when he joined a Polish armored division. He was sent to Britain to help liberate northern France. But when the Allies landed in Normandy, Słowinski's division had to stay behind to wait for equipment from the US.
I love seeing footage like this, not necessarily war footage, but just footage from many, many years ago, because sometimes it can be so difficult to imagine what life was like, things like this, where it's hard to comprehend the vastness and the horrors that went on. So I love being able to see the actual footage of this. It's so awesome. But it is good to know that the Polish soldiers were helping us in Normandy liberate France.
When the first troops arrived in France, we were really envious. We'd spent a lot of time training for that operation. So we were keen to join the Allies in Normandy as soon as possible. And
what a strange word to use. And I sort of can understand what he said, but they were envious. They were envious of the the Brits and the Canadians and the Americans being able to storm the beach. Envious is a weird word, isn't it? Because you think of all the horrors and yes, technically the Allies won, but there were a lot of losses still. People died. There was a lot of horrors. Envious isn't the word I would use, but I on the other hand, I do understand what he's saying. He's saying he's envious because they've trained for this. This is what they were ready to do. All that time prepping was for this.
they were waiting for us, too. Our division was supposed to be on the front line and move things forward quickly.
The Polish division reached France at the end of July. They had the crucial role of closing off an escape route for German soldiers at Falaise-Chambois. After 3 days and nights of intense fighting, they succeeded. Thousands of German soldiers were surrounded by Allied forces.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Now, if I was going to think of what Poland would have done on the beaches of Normandy, in my first thoughts, it wouldn't have been the Poles were coming onto the beaches. It would be more a case of the Poles are behind the Germans. So you've got the Brits, the Canadians, the Americans, and we know some Australians and things as well, coming from one side on the beach. And then you had, for example, the armies of Poland behind them and basically trapping the Nazis, trapping those Germans. And so they've got nowhere to go when we push and the Polish push. So maybe that was what happened.
When we were given the command to fire, I looked down the hill and saw endless numbers of German soldiers. Please forgive me. I don't really want to talk about it. We just shot into the masses.
Oh.
There were masses of Germans.
So sad, isn't it? So sad. I'm sorry for interrupting a lot, and I'm just trying to digest as well at the same time. And I'm trying to break it up because I don't want it to necessarily be too sad. But no, the thoughts of these men and women, what they went through and the trauma, the post-traumatic syndrome trauma that they had it's a horror to think, because it didn't just last the war, did it? It lasted after it, when they were back home, when they moved or whatever, when the war had finished, they still had those memories. And this poor man, now this was filmed 9 years ago, so on the 70th anniversary, this poor man, for example, he's just thinking, there's masses of Germans, and all they would do was stand and shoot at them. And I'm sure in their head they must have been thinking they are humans, they are people like us. Oh, it's not nice. It's not nice, and you hope that things like this wouldn't happen again, but you know it is happening again.
That battle led to the liberation of France. Sławinski wanted to press on and liberate his homeland. But he wasn't able to return until after the war. Poland was then under Soviet control. Many of his comrades emigrated.
This is one of my comrades. We were in a tank together. He emigrated to Canada. Sadly, he died recently. His wife died too. We stayed in contact for a long time and visited each other several times.
Sławinski will be attending this year's commemorations in Normandy, where he hopes to meet with both former friends and foes.
I'd be happy to meet German veterans there too. I don't believe in living in the past. We must not forget, but we need to look to the future too. I will shake hands with the Germans and wish them all the best.
At the age of 95, Marian Sławinski will be the oldest veteran from Poland. He'll return to the scene of his worst battle, an area that he now hopes will be a place of reconciliation.
What a man. That message at the end is so amazing, because it's a case of you must not forget. You must not forget of the atrocities and the horrors that went on. Never forget. So you try and make sure it never happens again. But you've got to forgive. You've got to forgive. There's no point of holding that bitter grudge forever and ever from generation to generation. You must forgive, because life has got to move on. And for someone like him to say that, who went through what he did, and this is the same as all these other soldiers, to say something like that is truly incredible and heartwarming, that he would happily shake the Germans' hands and wish them the best. Because what is the point of holding on to anger and hate? There's no point. You're only going to make yourself suffer. And so a absolutely awesome message. It's an interesting one, because as I said, I didn't know there was enough of a connection, that I didn't realize Poles, for example, and if you watch my earlier video, I didn't realize Australians had a connection to D-Day and the landing on Normandy beaches, but they did. They did. And people helped from all around, because it was the sense of adventure, it was the pride they had, the patriotism they had, and doing what they believed was the right thing. An incredible story again, and I absolutely love learning about history, and making myself wiser, making myself a little bit more humble. So yeah, Poland did have a part to play in the Normandy landings and D-Day. I hope you remember this. Please like and subscribe. Join for more. If you've got any more recommendations, please leave them either in the Discord server or in the comments. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.